What's happening, people? Happy Friday. Jum'ah Mubarak. How are you guys doing on this? I hope everybody's calmed down now. I hope the emotions and the reactions have calmed down now, and now we can talk about football realistically. Big up to everyone locked in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. I'll be live in about 2 hours time for a double watch along for the Serie A title chase. Como versus Inter, Napoli versus Cagliari. It's going to be a good one, so make sure you lot come through for that as well. Turn on your post notifications for that. Tomorrow we will also be live from 4:30 UK time for a big hate along, huge hate along, massive hate along. It's the biggest hate along that we've done for women's football. Hate. If you're not hating, please don't come to the hate along. If you are not hating and you don't have hatred in your heart, do not come to the hate along, because it's Barcelona versus Arsenal in the Women's Champions League final. And you guys know who we're going to hate on. Like, I think it's kind of obvious who we're there to hate on. So make sure you lot come through for that as well. Got a video dropping later this afternoon because transfer window ain't even open, and Liverpool are making serious moves. Serious moves. They went from Frimpong to Kirkes, and now it's looking highly likely, about 90% likely, that they're going to beat Bayern Munich and sign Florian Wirtz. What the hell is going on? As if it doesn't hurt enough that Man United suck and we got a bunch of losers. Liverpool, or for all the money that they didn't spend in the last summer transfer window, they're spending it all now. And now I don't know what the fee is for Florian Wirtz, but David Ornstein reported that he was in the northwest of England recently to house hunt due to a potential move to Liverpool. Bayern Munich have been informed of the player's preference to join Liverpool. A lot is happening there. Went from that final loss to a Knicks hate along straight away. I recovered quickly. Yo, if you're a Knicks and United fan, I'm praying for you. Just go on and delete the club. I'm seeing people say Control Alt Delete. Control Alt Delete. Don't delete the club, guys. That changes your password or it restarts your computer. Big up to Wahib says, you lot are better than me if you've already gotten over it. I wouldn't say necessarily gotten over it, but I can't dwell on it too much. I watched I don't know if you guys do, but I watched SDS this morning. And they were just shouting at each other, like people with different opinions on the manager, on the club, on the situation. And you can see the emotions were raw. I think in the first 24 hours after that loss, your emotions are still raw. Tottenham are having a parade right now. Couldn't care less. But there's a lot of things happening around Manchester United that I think is impacted directly because of the result in the Europa League final. Manchester United being linked to a move for Mateta. Alejandro Garnacho is near enough, I think, confirmed that he's leaving. I think this summer the conversation will be about where he's going and for how much, not about whether he's leaving or not. I don't think it's going to be about whether he's leaving or not. I think Alejandro Garnacho is 100% leaving Manchester United. I also think Bruno Fernandez will leave. We're going to talk about some reports as well, as Al Hilal are pushing to sign him, and the valuation between himself and Al Hilal's personal terms is not that far off, and they're pushing to sign him before the Club World Cup as well. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about INEOS due to more cuts being made within Manchester United. That takes the tally to near enough to 700 employee cuts in the last 12 months from INEOS at Manchester United. And it's crazy because I remember the first time these cuts were being made, and a lot of people were so quick to defend INEOS, like, oh, Man City have 600 employees, Man United have 1,100. I know people personally who have been impacted from the cuts at Manchester United. People I know personally that have worked for Manchester United for over 10, 15, 20 years. I'm talking about academy coaches. I'm talking about, back end staff. This is, office staff that have different roles. I know people personally. Damn, I didn't even notice that this was falling off. What the hell? I know people that have personally been impacted by these cuts. And like Wahib says here, 600 people getting cut from a club, but Hojlund is getting paid. It's a joke. People are just losing their job in general. Forget like football players, because football players make a lot of money. But people, working class citizens, losing their job because of the incompetence of owners, because Jim Ratcliffe has an obsession, an egotistical obsession of being a profitable business owner with Manchester United and making it a profitable business club. It's sad. It's sad because you know what, guys? I think this resonates a lot with me just because the people that lose their job at Manchester United, we have more in common with them than we probably have in common with a lot with the football players or the managers or the owners. Let's be honest. Jim Ratcliffe, he probably eats caviar for breakfast. We don't. You know, we have nothing in common with Jim Ratcliffe. We have nothing in common with probably Ruben Amorim and Man United players. But the working class citizens of Manchester United, you know, the average employee that works at 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever, just trying to get, you know, trying to pay their bills, trying to pay their mortgage, trying to put food on the table for their kids. We have more in common with them than we do with anybody else. And probably that's why this resonates with me kind of a lot more. Jim got to be the first broke billionaire. Mike Ashley and Simon Jordan were never this crap. I don't, you know what it is with Jim Ratcliffe being a billionaire. With Jim Ratcliffe and being a billionaire, you know, they say like you stay a billionaire, like this is how you stay a billionaire, by being stingy with your money. But you know, sometimes I genuinely wonder, why did he choose to invest in Manchester United? Let's actually start with that. Why did Jim Ratcliffe choose to buy Man United or a football club in general? Because it wasn't Man United, wasn't the first club that he tried to buy. I think he bought it to stroke his ego. I genuinely think he bought it to like, you lot are probably thinking you don't spend 4 billion to stroke your ego. You do. When you are a billionaire outside of, you know, mainstream entertainment and the public eye, let's be honest, I couldn't give a crap what INEOS do. Today I couldn't tell you what INEOS do. When I go shopping, sometimes I see they got anti-bac gel in the cleaning aisle. But other than that, I couldn't tell you what Jim Ratcliffe was rich for. You see, the guy that owns Virgin Atlantic, yeah, that guy, Richard Richard Branson, or whatever his name is. I can tell you what he's rich for. He owns Virgin Atlantic. Yeah, I can tell you what he's rich for. He's a rich billionaire. He's a British billionaire. I can tell you what he's rich. Jim Ratcliffe, I couldn't tell you what he's rich for. Could you guys? And honestly speaking, guys, this might sound crazy, but this is logically how I look at it. And I think this guy probably thought, no one knows me outside of basically petroleum engineering, whatever the hell it is that he does. What the hell he is it? I love how in every interview it's the same copy paste where he goes, oh, it's my boyhood club. He doesn't realize, guys, that I think there's a thing called digital footprint. I don't think he realizes that there's a thing called digital footprint, and that we can see the same thing that he says in every other interview when he wanted to buy Chelsea. Oh, I love Chelsea. Oh yeah, I'm a big Chelsea fan. I'm a season ticket holder because I used to live in Chelsea. You never used to live in Chelsea. You live in Monaco. Anyways, when I wonder why he brought Manchester United and this whole idea of make Manchester, he said make United Manchester again, i.e., you know, his whole storyline is being a man born and bred. He's not from Manchester. He's not from Manchester. But anyways, who am I to? I can't tell people where they are from and where they're not from. I genuinely think he brought Manchester United for a vanity project, for a ego stroke. That's it. I mean, we're soft, man. In another club, Glazers will not come to match. I don't think Jim Ratcliffe has an issue with the Glazers. He will never publicly say anything about the Glazers. But also, I think that they, excuse my language, but they pulled his pants down the day that he paid that much money for a minority share in Manchester United. What he paid for Manchester United should have brought near enough to at least half of Man United. At least it should have made you a majority shareholder when you're spending near enough to that money. Big up to United View for the raid. Big up. I know you lot are coming from I was going to say the red carpet. It's not the red carpet. The Trinity. Big up to everyone coming through from the Trinity podcast raid. I was watching that for the last like 40 or so minutes. We're going to talk about Kobe as well, because someone asked about Kobe and I saw them talking about it on UV. But anyways, back onto the topic of Jim Ratcliffe. I genuinely think it's an ego thing. And the news coming out of Manchester today regarding him, INEOS, and their decisions that they've made. Hundreds of Manchester United employees. And listen, this is for me, look, the circumstances of which this is happening, right? Hundreds of Manchester United employees watched the Europa League final at a staff screening in Manchester. When Jim Ratcliffe and Avram Glazer appeared on screen, everybody booed. Then it goes on to say, shortly after, the next day, employees were notified that the process will begin to tell staff that they have lost their jobs, with over 200 employees at risk of redundancy, being informed of their fate this week. So losing the Europa League final has clearly had a domino effect, not so much on, the players, but more so on the day-to-day staff that work at Manchester United. Morale is reported to be low at Manchester United, with popular and long-standing colleagues set to depart. I've said it myself, guys. I know somebody personally that is impacted by this redundancy, and they've been at Manchester United for over 15 years. They've been there for over 15 years. So I know the redundancy package they're going to get is going to be a nice one. But also, I don't like the fact that in interviews, when Jim Ratcliffe has spoken about the need to generate cash and revenue and cut costs at Manchester United, I don't like the fact that we are being gaslit by him and Manchester United's ownership in general, and the directors, if you want to call it that. Because time and time again, the biggest conversation is, Manchester United have to cut costs to spend in the transfer window. So you take a working class group of people's jobs away to make the club successful, quotation mark. That's how it's being packaged to us. And I think I genuinely think that's gaslighting. That is gaslighting. We're basically being told that this cost cutting is for the greater good of Manchester United becoming successful on the pitch. Mina, your jersey is tough. Is that a Sabah jersey? Yes, it is, man. Shout out to everyone from Malaysia. When I was in Malaysia, I saw this shirt in the shop. I know nothing about Malaysian clubs. I know they finished third in the league or something. So I picked this up because I love a good black jersey. So shout out anyone that's actually a Sabah FC fan. Sacking staff when the players are on that much money, it's disgusting. It is. It really is. And I remember the first round of redundancies that was happening, right? We were being told, I was being told by people on Twitter, people in the live stream was telling me, Man United employed too many people. INEOS have shown time and time again the reality of what their project is. They've shown it time and time again. With such poor morale, big up Chalaboy comments, by the way. It says, with such poor morale, why are we even expected to win? Club culture is at rock bottom. United was built on the working class. Jim Ratcliffe is defo gaslighting. The morale is low across anything to do with Manchester United. I think the morale is probably at an all-time low. Whether it's players, but I don't really give a crap I don't really care about what the morale is amongst the players, right? I don't care, because you're getting paid millions. Yeah, I can't sympathize too much, because there's people out there right now probably trying to figure out how they're going to pay their next 3, 4, 5 months of bills once they get made redundant. But the morale probably amongst the players is low. The morale within the coaching staff is probably low. 200 of these employee cuts are due to impact physios and other backroom staff in Manchester United. So it's not just office staff being impacted, it's also backroom staff being impacted by this. I don't believe in INEOS, and I never would have. That's one thing I can actually proudly say. I've never believed in INEOS. I've never brought the whatever the hell it was that they were trying to sell. I remember when they first came in, I said I will give them a year to do what they need to do, and then I'll have an opinion on them. But I don't trust them, and I'm not pro INEOS, and I'm not interested in Man United being taken over by Jim Ratcliffe. This idea of the best in class, I think it's a farce, it's a joke. There's no one that has been appointed yet that has been shown to be the best in class. And that is Barada, that's Wilcox. Hell, Dan Ashworth didn't even stand a chance. Honestly, did not stand a chance. Physio's going is the worst youth league show. I was feeling Qatari and then boom, I'm bringing Manchester back into Manchester United. I mean, I said it from day dot. I remember getting cooked on UV, man. I remember getting cooked on the Full View or something. But I remember saying that Jim Ratcliffe's campaign of make United Manchester again, it gave me Brexit vibes. It gave me Brexit vibes. Big up to Gamer TV for dropping some news here in the chat. It's one of the topics that we have to discuss here. So actually, let's actually discuss it. Let's actually talk about it, because this is probably the first of many conversations that we will be having throughout the next couple of months regarding United players. And I told you guys myself, I went to Saudi and I was hearing stuff. By the way, I was hearing stuff about a lot of players, but this guy here, I heard a bit about Bruno, and I did hear that his agent was in Saudi last week or the week before, I think it was, to talk to the PIF and Al Hilal and another club. But Al Hilal are leading the race to sign him because Al Hilal have a budget of about, I think it's like 550 million. They've got a budget because they're in the Club World Cup. They are one of the biggest teams in Saudi, and they are owned by the Saudi Investment Fund. So Saudi pump a lot of money into the clubs that they own to bring the big players over. And Al Hilal's target, there was three targets that they had. Mohamed Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandez. And it's looking likely, like, I think they could go all out for Bruno Fernandez. So reportedly, I think this is coming from Chris Wheeler at the Daily Mail, says Bruno Fernandez has been set a deadline of next week to decide if he wants to leave and sign a 200 million deal with Al Hilal. Al Hilal want an answer by the end of May and are increasingly hopeful that he can be persuaded. Now, I saw a report as well. Minna, you have to speak to Amir, to me, tell him we need them to save us. You know what's so funny? I know a couple of people from that family. And just today, I was having a conversation with one of them saying, yo, please tell your uncle to come by us. Just today, I was saying, yo, please tell your uncle to come by us. And my friend was laughing. So I don't know if there's any possibility, but I know people in that Al Thani family in it. So if I can put a word in and be like, yo, please come on, man, do something for us, I'll see what I can do. But anyways, on the topic of Bruno Fernandez, I think this is the beginning of the domino effect. I think this is the beginning of the domino effect with losing the Europa League final. And I don't just think it's going to be Bruno. I don't think it's going to be Bruno. I think there's going to be other players that are impacted by this domino effect. But let's be honest, guys. And this is a question to you guys. Man United are in the situation that we're in right now, right? We're in the situation that we're in right now. We have near enough to reportedly £100 million budget in terms of not including outgoings, yeah? They have all these financial issues and implications. So you're telling me, taking all of that into consideration, you would not be intrigued of the prospect of selling Bruno Fernandez? Minna's from a secret billionaire family. I wish. All I have to say is that people watch content in it. Like, that's how I know so many different people across the Gulf. People watch content, and there's a lot of them, man, are fans. A lot of them guys are fans over there. That's all I gotta say. Let me just do this quickly. Bam. All right, cool. Let me see what you guys are saying, actually. Although Bruno Fernandez is happy at United, the prospect of a season out of Europe with a 25% wage reduction and no guarantees that the club can progress quickly under Ruben Amorim may convince him to accept the mega deal. Let's keep it a buck, guys. Let's keep it a buck. By the way, big up to Riri, been a member for 17 months. Big up, says bless up Minna and the minions. Big up, says I hope you're doing well. Big up to Sully with the super chat, says I'd literally cry if Bruno leaves, but it's time to go. Sully's going to be crying for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, let's talk about this Bruno situation, right? Because just this time last year, or not even this time last year, yeah? It was like July, he signed a buffed up contract with Manchester United, right? And similar to what Garnacho's agent was doing in January, I don't know if you guys remember, but similar to what Garnacho's agent was doing in January in terms of, you know, showing him off to other teams, Bruno Fernandez's agent was doing the same thing last summer. And I remember this because I remember sitting here doing streams about it and talking about, you know, whether Man United should give Bruno a new contract because that's what he was looking for. And they didn't give him a new contract. Instead, they just gave him a bumper salary with the promise that United would be a competitive team. Because let's be honest, he's 30. He's not getting any younger. He needs to start winning proper silverware. Proper silverware. When I say proper silverware, I'm talking about league titles. I'm talking about European titles. 1 year later, you're telling me Manchester United find themselves in a position where that contract, that bumper contract that they gave him is looking like it was the wrong idea or the wrong choice. If Al Hilal offer Man United 150 million, you take it. You take it. Honestly, you take it. Now, this is my only fear. Here it is. I do not trust them to invest. There you go. There you go. That's another one of my worries for Manchester United. I don't know what this recruitment strategy at Manchester United is. Let's be honest. From what I can go off of, just the summer transfer window, and even like the January transfer window, buy young players for relatively affordable prices, and then poach young players from academies and try and maybe, you know, develop them, either integrate them into the first team or maybe try to sell them on. That is what it looks like to me for Manchester United. Meanwhile, I'm watching Liverpool buy Florian Wirtz, Frimpong, linked to Kirkes. I'm seeing Real Madrid, bam. They want Dean Howson. They pay his release clause. They want to sign a left back. They're looking at Alvaro Fernandez and his release clause, or they're looking at Grimaldo. You know, teams are getting business done across Europe, but these teams have a lot more to offer than Manchester United have. And that is why I'm worried about where the transfer strategy is heading down. The debt interest alone is 50 million, which is one signing of a season. I mean, the fact that Man United have been paying 50 million pounds in debt, right, for the last 20 years. It's crazy. It's crazy. Guys, we've spent in, I'm saying we, yeah, but Man United have spent in interest more than what the Glazers have brought the club for with their debt, with their finance debt. Number one, yeah. Number two, I forgot my second point. I was going to make a really good second point. World Sevens is awesome, guys. Girls made it to the final. I've been enjoying it. It's been really funny to watch. It's been really funny to watch. But yeah, what MA is saying is true. It's true. Man United pay 50 million a year alone on interest. They spend, by the way, another thing is, let me get the exact number. Manchester United, I think they had a negative minus, it was around minus 30, minus 40 million for their foreign exchange on their accounts for the year, because they are based in the UK, but they operate on the New York Stock Exchange. Can you believe that? Because Manchester United are on the New York Stock Exchange, yeah, and they operate in the UK, their foreign exchange that they reported was a negative. So that has a negative impact on your accounts, right? On your financial accounts for the year. That taken into consideration, the interest situation. By the way, big up to Riri, just gifted 10 memberships. 10 memberships. I know some of you guys in the chat have just scammed your way to a membership right now. Oh, wait, I shouldn't say that, because a lot of the people that are getting memberships are new people. Except for Uthman. Uthman scammed his way to a membership. That's because Uthman is always here in the chat. FC Groningen, I think I said that wrong. I know that's a Dutch team. Got a membership. Andre Johnson got a membership. JJ got a membership. Jermaine Kanak got a membership. Rox, Young Pop, Fernando, Andy, Tom. Big up to Riri with the super chat, with the membership. Sorry, that's 10 memberships, man. That's no jokes. That's no joke. You don't know Riri is she's the queen here on the channel. She's the queen here on the channel. Mina, Bruno has to go. He gave away the ball 36 times. You could also argue for me. You can also argue for me that Bruno's in the final. I don't think the way that United started, or the 11 that United started with, was the best one. Mina, if we stop the generation of the stadium plan, can the Glazers leave? Do you guys even think the stadium is something that the Glazers wanted? I don't think the Glazers give a crap about whether Man United develop a new stadium or not, in my opinion. In my opinion. I don't think they care. I don't think they care. Now, I was listening to a podcast when I was flying to Saudi. I was listening to a podcast, and it was, I think it was The Athletic. The Athletic did a 2-episode thing on the Glazers. So I tell you lot to go check it out. I really highly encourage you lot to go and check it out. The Glazers did a 2-episode thing on the Glazers. Big up to Rance with the raid. Deluded was rattled on Rance. Deluded is too funny, man. He's too funny. Big up to Rance for the raid. Hit the like button on your way in, guys. But anyways, if you guys listen to that episode from The Athletic on the Glazers takeover for Manchester United, right? You see how they scammed their way into getting a new stadium for the Bucks. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's the NFL team that the Glazers own. They scammed their way into getting a new stadium, because in America it's quite different. The local councils can they have they can invest, basically. They manage to get money from the local councils, local businesses. They managed to scam their way to building a new stadium. The Glazers didn't want to part ways with 1 penny of their own money. They did not want to part ways with 1 penny of their own money for that stadium. And this is what I'm saying. That's how the rich stay rich. That's how the rich stay rich. Not saying I necessarily agree with it. The Bucks still suck over here. No one watches them outside of Tampa. I mean, bar the time when they won the Super Bowl with Brady, did they even, was that the first time they were competitive in the NFL? Out of curiosity, because I don't really be watching the Bucks like that. I don't really be watching the Bucks like that. Nuruddin warned you of this lot. You know, Nuruddin is the one person I can say with a fact has stood on business. Stood on business, because Nuruddin is from day one when the takeover stuff was starting. Yeah, this is before INEOS took over. Any of that. He stood on business. He did not let any new opportunity pull the wool over his eyes. But one thing I will say is, guys, there's nothing wrong with changing your opinion when you're presented with new evidence. Like, a lot of us were optimistic. A lot of people were optimistic when INEOS came in, you know. But as things progressed, opinions can change. And I hate that about football fans, because people act like your opinion, you have to stay the same with your opinion all the time. There's nothing wrong with your opinion changing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with your opinion changing. The same way that I have felt, you know, one way about Bruno sometimes, and then another way about Bruno the other times. The Rock of Gibraltar was the problem. Oh my God. I'm literally making a video about this right now. And I've been researching about it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how a horse and Sir Alex Ferguson equals Glazers. Do you know how ridiculous that is? You lot keep an eye out for when I drop the video in the coming weeks. But it's ridiculous. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it the more that I read about it. The Glazers used a lot of taxpayers' money for the stadium. There you go. There you go. That's why I don't think this stadium, let me pull it up on the screen. Man United new stadium. This new stadium plan that they have for Manchester, fuck, it's ugly as shit. Can I just say, like, this is looks like a flipping circus, if I'm being honest. But that's very fitting for Manchester United. What is this? I'm not being funny, guys, but what is this? Anyways, the Glazers would never spend a penny from their own money. The Glazers would never spend a penny from their own money to pay for. They wouldn't even pay for the electricity that lights up this place. They wouldn't even do that. Because in America, the way that they got a new stadium for the Bucks, completely different. And that is why, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know if you guys do, like, if you follow the women's team, you will know that last year and this year, Jim Ratcliffe never turned up to the Women's FA Cup final. But last year, he missed the Women's FA Cup final to go to Man United versus Arsenal at Old Trafford when Man United had nothing to play for because he was hosting Keir Starmer at the time. Keir Starmer was the leader of the opposition. He wasn't the prime minister. And it was expected, obviously, that there was going to be a general election. And the general consensus was Labour government was going to come into effect. And so he had to make sure he got Keir Starmer on his good side with Andy Burnham, who's, I think, the mayor of Manchester, who is also, I think, a Labour delegate. So he had to make sure that all these people are willing to, you know, not put taxpayer money into the stadium, but build up around it. And that's it. How can you want a stadium like this? Yeah, that looks like this. This looks like, yeah, on I swear to God, do you know what this looks like? The little badminton stuff that you play with, you know, the little things that you play badminton with. It looks like they just put 3 on each side. I don't even know what this was supposed to be. I don't know if you guys realize I never did any videos about the stadium. I don't care. I didn't care about a new stadium because what does it matter having a new stadium when you suck? Big up to Omar with the super chat, says this is why interest is haram. Facts. We've been told about it 1500 years ago. Long road to recovery, but it will lead us to invest in young talent, build from scratch rather than taping over leaks of an old broken ship. You guys have a lot of, I think, big up to Omar, by the way, with the super chat. I think you lot have a lot of faith in this idea of investing in young talent. Like, you guys have a lot of, what's the word? You're very hopeful. You are very, very hopeful that United are going to find some young talents and actually make something of them. We got a Kobe Mainoo that's rotting on our bench. We signed Chido Obi Martin, who probably, I don't know if he regrets coming to Manchester United right now. We are building a football team based on the Red Bull model. We're not Red Bull. We are not Red Bull. So this idea of United just buying young people, are we a daycare? Like, it's about balance for me, anyways. It's all for me. It's about balance. Apparently, it's supposed to be a trident. I don't even. What the hell is a trident? Excuse my stupidity. The only trident I know is the police. That's the only trident I know. It looks like a scene from Harry Potter in the Quidditch World Cup. All right, we're going a bit off topic. We're going a bit off topic because why are we talking about the stadium? Let's talk about boom, boom, boom. Mateta's in the room. I had a picture somewhere here. If I can find it. There you go. That was not a good idea from me. Him and his mother with the FA Cup. There you go. There you go. Manchester United are reportedly favourites to sign Jean-Philippe Mateta from Crystal Palace. FA Cup winning, by the way. FA Cup winning Jean-Philippe Mateta. Who are we to say no? Look, if man says it here, I don't even rate Mateta, but I have no choice these days. I think Mateta is a good striker, but again, it's an okay signing. It's not a Victor Osimhen. Let's be real. It's not a Victor Osimhen, but it's an okay signing. But that, again, this ain't the answer to United's problems. This is not the answer to United's problems. At this rate, coming to us is a step backwards. Is that the one that scored against us? Yes, he did score against us, I remember. I'll take him over Delap. I would too. Here, Super Craven says he's not going to downgrade. Do you guys think it is a downgrade, right? Going from Palace to Man United right now. Going from Palace to Man United right now is a downgrade. Crystal Palace is my team, and I want us to keep Mateta. I feel like if they sell Eze this summer, I don't think they'll sell Mateta. By the way, we got over 300 people here, over 400 people here, guys. Let's hit the like button if you've just come through. Big up to UV and Rants for the raid. If you want to join the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. Of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. If you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by sending in comments via super chat. You know, send in your comments, questions, thoughts, or just to show some love. We'll be live again at 7:30 UK time for the Serie A watch along, double watch along, Como versus Inter, Napoli versus Cagliari. I can never pronounce their name for some reason. So make sure you lot come through for that, because that will be a fun watch along as well. Crystal Palace is in Europa, but he has 1 year left on his contract. Maybe Palace cash in. I hear it. Both Mateta and Delap will be fine for next season. Hussein thinks we're getting both. I don't think United is getting more than one striker this summer. Unless they sell very well, right? Unless they sell very well. I'm talking about selling a Bruno, selling a Garnacho, selling someone for like 60 plus. That's the only way they get another striker. The thing is, United are going to look at the players that they have, or the ones that come in. Cunha, Xerxes, and whatever other number 9 they sign, and they're going to be like, you know, you guys are all interchangeable. All of you lot can play in different parts of the front line. You know, all of you lot can play across the number 9. So Man United aren't going to buy 2 strikers. That's definitely not. No way. Absolutely no way. And no way are they going to buy 2 strikers that are Premier League proven. Now, I saw a report today that said that Jim Ratcliffe is urging the recruitment team at Manchester United to go down the path of signing young English talents or British talents that are Premier League proven. Jim Ratcliffe is going to run this team into the ground. If he's allowed to have any involvement. I don't get it. You're just a minority owner. I don't want to say shut up and sit over there, but just shut up and sit over there. If you're a minority owner and people are going to say, oh, he's spent this much money to take over the minority ownership, he's entitled to be involved. He's not entitled to be involved when he said that his whole task was going to be to appoint the best in class quotation marks and let the footballing minds, right? The footballing people make the footballing decisions. So if that is the case, why is it now being reported that Jim Ratcliffe is advising the recruitment team basically how they should recruit? He's killing Man United. We talk about the Glazers being vermin. He's bad for the club too. Let me see what you lot are saying. How will he leave Europa to United 1 game a week unless it's a crazy salary for him? Talking about crazy salaries, on the topic of crazy salaries, reportedly, this is why I say football's not fair. Yeah, firstly, it's not fair that they get to earn so much money, yeah, and we have to just basically be depressed all the time and just be average Joes. But reportedly, Man United are happy to let Rasmus Hojlund leave this summer for a price tag around 40 to 46 million pounds. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Juventus reportedly see him as a sensible target due to his low wage demands. Man United's demands should not be an issue, and Juventus may bid if they qualify for the Champions League. Now, this sounds like this is the likely destination where he's going to end up. Italy, I think, is where he's going. He's going back to Italy because Inter are linked to him. Juve are linked to him. Napoli at one point were linked to him. I don't know if this is Man United just planting stories in the media. I really don't. 40 to 46 million pounds, guys. You're telling me 50 million euros for this guy. If Man United get 50 million euros for Rasmus Hojlund, I don't shake hands with men. But if I did, I would shake hands with Man United's negotiating team. 50 million euros. That is a whole load of money. That's a whole load of money. And on the topic of a whole load of money, big up to Omar with the big super chat. Big W's for Omar in the super chat, guys. W's for Omar in the comments. Sorry, saying supporting this channel for Jum'ah. Appreciate it. It goes a long way, man. Thank you so much, Omar. May Allah bless you. Says Mino, we need goals. Mateta, Cunha bring us goals. The biggest issue that gets lost is over the last 2 windows we replaced 15 goals with 3 by selling 6 attacking players and just bringing in Xerxes and Chido. I mean, Chido hasn't even scored for Manchester United. So I think it's actually quite harsh to even put him in them conversations. He wasn't even in the squad, playing, coming off the bench until earlier this calendar year, right? He was not used at all by Erik ten Hag. He wasn't even in training with the first team. And when Amorim came in, it took him a couple of months to even let him be part of the matchday squad. So I even think that's a bit harsh. But even if we talk about how many goals Manchester United lost, and this is why, again, the failures for this land at the doors of Amorim and I think the owners and, the quotation mark footballing people, because I don't know how you let Marcus Rashford leave with no intention to bring in another attacker. It doesn't matter whether Marcus Rashford was scoring 5 goals, 10 goals, or 20 goals, or no goals. It's another body. It's another attacker. There was so many games this season, especially like in the last month or so, that we had to look at the match day squad and there's no attackers on the bench. None whatsoever. Because they sold or they let him go on loan without effectively replacing him. And this is also, can I say, it's another reason why I look at Amorim a bit sideways, because I don't know how big your problem was with Marcus Rashford and Antony that you are willing to suffer like this. I don't think, and maybe this is me, I'm not defending INEOS, but I think they must have been very transparent with him to say whether they're going to bring in another attacker in January or not. And yet he still pushed Rashford out. He pushed Antony out. And I'm not saying they're giving you guaranteed 30 goals in the season, but it's another body. And it means it's another number. Effectively, that's another option. And you're better off having options than having none whatsoever, guys. You are better off like that. Am I a bit bitter that what he did to Rashford? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. But big up to Omar with the big super chat. Thank you so much, Omar. I appreciate it. I think Rasmus Hojlund's gone. Honestly speaking, going into Sunday, right? It's funny. No one's talking about this Aston Villa game on Sunday. I don't think anyone cares, right? I'm watching it not because I want to watch it, because I want to see A, who's going to play, and B, I want to see who gets booed. Because I've seen better players at Manchester United be hounded out of the club for far less than what I've seen these players do. Rasmus Hojlund, for me, is not a player that I don't think he deserves abuse. I don't think, firstly, no player deserves abuse, right? But I think as fans, we tend to see, or we tend to not understand what is criticism and what is abuse. Abuse is when you make it personal. There's insults. But when you're criticizing and pointing out flaws and weaknesses in a player's system, that's criticism. Constructive criticism is telling them how to improve those things that you're pointing out. It's nothing wrong with saying Rasmus Hojlund ain't good enough at Manchester United. There is nothing wrong with that. And in that same kind of context, I can also say that Rasmus Hojlund could be a good player in the future. But right now, what he is not good enough for Manchester United. That's it. Unfortunately, we're not winning till next season. I don't think no one expects to win on Sunday. Villa are fighting for Champions League football or European spot. United are just fighting for 40 points. United are just fighting for 40 points. Literally, that is it. United have nothing else to fight for, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Now, talking about Manchester United, it was reported that Ruben Amorim wants Manchester United to target players who add pace, power, and athleticism to the midfield this summer. He's made it clear to United's recruitment team that he wants greater energy and mobility in midfield due to concerns that his existing options lack the pace, power, and athleticism required to compete in the Premier League. I mean, this is good. that Ruben Amorim is identifying this. But then again, I'm not the biggest fan of Ugarte, right? But you opted to play Mount in the 10 and drop Ugarte in midfield when you're saying that Man United need physicality? Again, you don't have to be a big fan of Ugarte to know that he offers more for Manchester United in the middle of the pitch when it comes to a physical perspective. For me, Ruben Amorim coming into Manchester United and one of the first players that he praised was Mason Mount. That should have been a red flag to us. That should have been 100% a huge red flag. And with saying that, him dropping, for example, Kobbie Mainoo, who, might not be the fastest player when it comes to pace, but he's, I think, Man United's most technical midfielder, more technical than any midfielder that Manchester United have. And you feel like Manchester United lack technicality on the ball in midfield, and then you send him on in 89th minute. And this is why I say sometimes I don't know where I don't know where I stand with Ruben Amorim, guys. Genuinely speaking, sometimes I'm like, I don't know where I stand with Ruben Amorim. Was Amorim instructed to revamp Mount by the club? I wish I could tell you something that I know, but I think I'll get in trouble with it. Just know that Mount was always a club signing. He was never a Ten Hag signing, never an Amorim signing. That's why I fully believe every time these managers come out with high praise for Mason Mount, just know there's a reason behind it. There's a reason behind it, and it's not them. I genuinely don't think Amorim needs a Mason Mount. I don't think Ten Hag needed a Mason Mount, but both of them somehow found themselves shoehorning him into the team, right? Mount was always a signing by the club, and not just specific people in the club that wanted this English talent to be part of Manchester United and give him a number 7 shirt. Give him the number 7 shirt. I'm sure you guys can do the math. The same way we can do the maths about this guy. What is the time? Okay, the intergame is kicking off in an hour and a half. So we still got a bit of time. We've got over 300 people here. Let's try to get 250 likes. Is that too much to push for 250 likes, guys? I think we could do it. Big up to everyone that sent in super chat so far today. If you want to join the membership club, like I said, you can. It's a pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. Of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. If you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, or just to show some love. You can do that, and you can also help us reach the super chat goal for the day on the stream as well. Now, reports, I don't know if you guys remember, but we have seen reports over the last couple of, I would say, months or so regarding Andre Onana. This is so bad. You know, when a team that has merely existed for less than a year don't want you, guys, this is bad. Now, NEOM FC, I don't know if you guys know who NEOM FC are. NEOM FC are a Saudi-based football team in the 2nd division of Saudi, the SPL. So they're in, they say Division 1, but it's the 2nd tier of Saudi football. They were rebranded, actually. They were rebranded in 2023, and they were named NEOM FC. And they're getting a new stadium built in the city of NEOM, which doesn't exist at the moment. The city of NEOM does not exist right now. Saudi are building it from scratch. They found a big patch of desert land that they have. It's an urban planned area, and it doesn't even exist yet. I might have to go check it out one day to see how it's coming along. NEOM management have decided to halt negotiations with Andre Onana and his camp as they are waiting for better goalkeeper options in the market this summer. Do you know how bad that is? Do you see how bad that is? That a team that has merely existed for about a year or two, a team that is based in a city that actually doesn't exist yet, and a team that is probably being funded quite heavily by the PIF, and they're going to have a lot of money to spend when they come up to the Saudi Pro League next summer. That's spooky. That is spooky. I think it is clear as day, though, that United have to move on from Onana. I think it's clear as day. I mean, some people were saying that I was clutching at straws at the idea that Onana was at fault for the goal that we conceded against Spurs. But if you watch that back, I'm telling you guys, a normal goalkeeper would save that. I watched Vicario make 10 saves that were 10 times harder than that. Your near post, a little deflection. I don't know if I'm being harsh, guys. I do not know if I'm being harsh. But I genuinely think that Onana should have done better. But you know what the worst thing is? I feel like that after every goal United concede. I always feel like Onana should do better. And I think that in itself is a sign, right? That's a sign that we should just let it go. Anyway, back for Anthony and Rashford. I don't think so. I don't think so, Mike. We have a decent backline, which is let down by Onana's lack of confidence and ability to command the defense. I literally watched Casemiro. There was a clip of Casemiro shouting at him, hounding him. It was like Man United weren't even losing at that point. They weren't even losing at that point. But again, as fans, right? As fans, if we feel like Onana, you know, watching Onana puts me at unease. I feel uneasy watching him. Whether it's a set piece, whether it's a corner and he's coming out for it, I feel nervous. Whether it's someone taking a shot, I feel nervous. Imagine how the players feel. Imagine you were a defender and that's the goalkeeper behind you. I don't think I would be able to concentrate. I don't think I would be able to concentrate as a player if this was my goalkeeper. If you feel nervous, what about the team? I'm not gonna lie. I don't feel like as uneasy as I do about Onana. Say for when, I don't know, Lenny Yoro is driving the ball through the middle. I don't feel like that. I genuinely don't feel like that. But I just find it a bit funny that a city that doesn't exist is basically saying, yeah, we're going to look at other options. We're going to come back to you. And to be honest, his wage demands might be quite high. I mean, to go to live in a city that doesn't exist yet, and you have to take your family there. I mean, a lot of footballers that do move to Saudi, if they are closer to the north of Saudi, they tend to just live in Bahrain. So a lot of players that play for Al-Ittifaq, that play for Al-Qadsiya, for example, that are in the north of the country, they're about a 2-hour drive from Bahrain, 20-minute flight from Bahrain. So they just live there instead because it's more city-like. There's like, Bahrain allows the consumption of things like alcohol, etc. Whereas some places in Saudi don't. You know, in Saudi, you know, you can't live with your partner if you're not married, etc. So I know like Aubameyang, for example, and Duran, whatnot, they all live in Bahrain and they just take a private jet, or they just, you know, Aubameyang or other players, they just drive down 2 hours every day. I just came back from Bahrain, lovely country. You know what? It's really expensive. That's probably the one thing that I did not expect about Bahrain. I was there for a couple of hours. I was transit. And I remember coming off my flight. It was breakfast time. It's morning. It's like 7 in the morning. I thought, let me get a cup of tea and some breakfast. But I wasn't feeling that hungry. So I got myself some fruits and a cup of tea. I spent £12 on that in the airport. And I actually thought, what? I was so confused. I was like, did I just get... I thought maybe the lady scammed me. But then I'm like, I'm in a Muslim country. Like, why? They're not going to scam me. I'm wearing a hijab. They're not going to scam me. But I couldn't believe it. And then I was looking at the prices of stuff in the airport. 6 dinar for coffee and fruit. Basically, yeah, I think that's what I paid. Yeah, I think that's what I paid. Six Bahraini dinars. Airports are always expensive though, but not to that level. Not to that level. I'm lucky my card didn't decline, guys. Airports are expensive, but not to that level. When I was in Saudi, I know it's different and it's duty-free, but I brought perfumes in duty-free that was way cheaper in Saudi than it was in Bahrain. Like, I looked at the same perfume that I brought in Saudi airport versus when I was in Bahrain airport. And I looked at it and there was a big price gap. There was a big price gap. Airports are expensive, but also, you know what I like about airports, guys? There's no rules in the airport. I can eat pasta at 4 in the morning. There's no rules. There's no rules whatsoever. If I want to drink a fizzy drink at 6 in the morning, no rules. No rules whatsoever. Bahrain is the joy house of Saudi. Yeah, so I heard. I heard a lot of stories about Bahrain. It's still on my bucket list to go, but unless it's for work, I don't think I ever go to Bahrain, to be honest. But yeah, that's some news on Andre and Nana. Let's talk about Alejandro Garnacho. Still a topic of discussion, by the way. Alejandro Garnacho is still a topic of discussion. The price tag that I think Man United will probably look for, this is just, by the way, you're taking the mic. How do you say the card is declining in Arabic for future reference? I promise you guys, yeah, we're going to talk about Garnacho, but I promise you, I got no shame. If I was in the airport in the Middle East and my card declined, I'm just looking back to the closest Muslim person next to me. I'm going to be like, yo, my card declined. Do you mind paying? Because I think 9 times out of 10, Arab hospitality, they will pay it. Like, they will pay for you. Especially if you throw in 1-2 Arab words in your sentence, they'll think, oh, okay, maybe this person, is she Arab? I don't know. She's looking a bit, racially, what's it called? Ambiguous. We don't really know what she is, but she's throwing in Arabic words. So I'll just be like, yo, excuse me, there's mushkila. Can you pay for my abitan? Is that what they say in Arabic? I think drink is abitan. I don't know, but that's what I would do, just in case my card ever declined. God forbid that ever happens to me. Just God forbid. Yeah, ikhwan. That's what I will start my sentence with. If it's a brother or sister, I'll be like, ukhti. Ya salam. Ya salam. But anyways, on the topic of Alejandro Garnacho, yeah. How do we say goodbye Garnacho in Arabic? Because that's what this summer is looking like. This summer is looking like a goodbye Alejandro Garnacho. Your time at Manchester United has come to an end. That's it. That is it. Reportedly, and talking about the topic of like Arab countries, apparently it's expected for teams in the Saudi Pro League and the Premier League and Europe to be interested in Alejandro Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho, reportedly, this is from Rob Dawson at ESPN, says Garnacho is increasingly likely to leave this summer. His representatives are expected to have a meeting with United in the coming days to decide an exit. He also reports that his representatives are expecting interest from Premier League clubs and from Saudi Arabia. This guy wouldn't last a minute in Saudi Arabia. Are you crazy? Now, reportedly, the reason why he put out that interview after the game is that Alejandro Garnacho was not happy with the way that Ruben Amorim has been using him over the last 6 months, which is crazy because he's played over 50 games for Man United. He started 30 something for them. But he's not been happy with that. He's not been happy with the game time he's been getting. He's not been happy with the fact that he's not been having an important role in the team. And essentially, he's just not happy with the way that he's been treated at Manchester United this season. And for me, it's funny because I knew he loved Ronaldo, but I didn't think he's going to follow Ronaldo that much where he's going to go to the Saudi Pro League at this age. I thought he loved Ronaldo so much that he wanted to replicate his career. But you're telling me you already expect interest from the Saudi Pro League. And you know what, guys? I'm going to be so honest. Because I think he's a young player, and I also think he's got a lot to learn. I think he's got a lot to learn when it comes to football. But I think he's gotten off so lightly with the way that he's behaved. Him and his representatives, what they did in the January transfer window was disgraceful. You're telling me that in the January transfer window, his agent was pictured at Chelsea with reports coming out about Chelsea being interested in him, and he's meeting with Chelsea representatives behind Man United's back, and he's meeting with Napoli representatives behind Man United's back, and suddenly now you're shocked that you've been dropped from a final and you don't know how to control yourself, so you come out in an interview and just talk a lot of smack, despite the fact that in the January transfer window your agent was publicly selling you to other people. I promise you. If what's his name? Dwayne Maynard, that's Rashford's brother? If Rashford's brother was spotted anywhere, yeah, where there's a picture, Sky Sports are panning to him at a stadium where, you know, Rashford is linked to a move there. Man United fans would have, they probably would have found Rashford's address. I'm sorry, but I think age is a factor in it, but he's old enough to know better. Kobbie Mainoo was dropped from that same final that you were dropped from. I haven't heard zilch. We haven't heard zilch from Kobbie Mainoo. And Kobbie Mainoo arguably could play on the heartstrings of Man United fans more than Garnacho could. Why? Because Kobbie Mainoo is Man United through and through. He is an academy product through and through. But Kobbie Mainoo has kept quiet. I haven't seen no posts from Kobbie Mainoo's entourage, his people, his agents, his family, his friends. Nothing from him. Nothing. No interviews. Nothing. Casemiro was dropped almost all season. We never heard nothing. Exactly. This happens to players. This happens to players. And I just don't like it. Like I said, right? Marcus Rashford. I have to bring up Marcus Rashford again just because of the ill treatment that he got. The interview that he gave, yeah, after Man United lost the Europa League final back in, what was it, 2021? Completely different. It was a completely different. He went on to say like things like, I can say this team will not give up. There's no chance we will give up. The manager won't give up. He won't allow us to. We come next season with a bigger desire. People say a lot about Manchester United. We're going downhill, blah, blah, blah. But for me, the club, the desire, the hunger, the talent, the squad, the ability, we have everything to compete at the highest level. And then you got Garnacho coming out. Saying, I don't know why I didn't start. I started nearly every game and I scored. And then I come on for 20 minutes. And then you guys will see who they sing for at Old Trafford and who they boo at Old Trafford. And I'm not talking about Marcus Rashford right now. I'm just saying at 2021, where they were probably in and around the same age, because he's probably around maybe slightly younger than what Rashford was in 2021, you see the complete difference in interviews, right? Complete difference. And I think we're not talking about it enough. I don't think we're really talking about it enough. Thought it was United trying to sell him. Not a good look at all. I guess if we sell him, it may be good for the culture, but I'd rather teach than punish. I don't agree. Chalaboy, I don't agree about you'd rather teach than punish. This ain't his first rodeo of discipline issues at Manchester United. Let's bear that in mind, right? Before, because of Erik ten Hag, we didn't see it get played out in public, right? It was his first season at Manchester United in the senior team. He was dropped from pre-season. You know how crazy it is to be dropped from pre-season? Getting dropped from pre-season is like getting suspended in primary school. That's crazy. How are you getting suspended in primary school? You're a child. You're literally a child, right? But he was dropped in pre-season for whatever reason why Erik ten Hag gave. Then he was dropped again months later. This guy has had a track record of disciplinary issues. It's just luckily for him, it's never played out in the public. Why? Because he's never been a media villain like Martial was, or Lingard was, or Pogba was, or Rashford was. He was never wanted by the media. The media never had a hit on his head. So anytime he did something wrong, you would never hear about it publicly, right? You wouldn't. And if you did hear about it publicly, it wouldn't be dragged on for long. But now he's given us, right? He's given us this ammunition of stuff to talk about. It's not because the Daily Mail are posting him in a club like the day after United lost or something like that. He's standing there after the game doing interviews with Argentinian media. You see how selective it is. It's the same way Bruno did an interview with Portuguese media. They're selective with who they talk to after the game and say what they want to say. And I don't respect it. I don't respect it. Garnacho's mentality indeed stinks, but can we afford to casually throw away a young talent in our current state? If we can get a bid, sure, but otherwise we can't afford another Rashford. He's nowhere near Rashford or what Rashford was. Garnacho at his best. Garnacho's peak and Garnacho can never reach Rashford's peak. That's what I have to say. But equally with saying that, this obsession that we have with young talents, why have we become so accustomed to this idea of we have young talents, we can't afford to waste another young talent? Look across most of the best starting 11s in Europe, right? Look across the most of the best starting 11s in Europe. How many of them have young talents? Quotation marks. How many of them have young talents in their starting 11? Arsenal got Lewis Skelly. Liverpool, they ain't got no young talent. Quotation mark, young talent, right? I'm talking about academy, from their academies. Barcelona, they are a anomaly, yeah. Barcelona be producing talents that I ain't never seen in my life before. But if you can get a good 50, 60, 70 million for this kid, sell him. Sell him. Could he go on to be a good player? Yeah, he could be good. This might make me, I might have to bite my words one day, but I don't think he's gonna be GOAT level. I don't think he's gonna be one of the best players in that. I don't see him winning a Ballon d'Or. I don't see that happening. I like Garnacho as a player, and I think he's been a bright spot for United in some dark, dark days, but I also think he has an ego. And I don't want any player at the team that has an ego. If this was Bruno Fernandez, I think I would say I would say the same thing. If this was my favorite, I don't have any favorite players, by the way, but if it was one of my favorite players at United doing this, I would say the same thing. If they're egotistical, I would say they're egotistical. If they are selfish, I would say they're selfish. I would, that would all be applicable. So I don't want that at Manchester United. And is my fear of what Man United might do in the transfer window bigger than my willingness to have him at the club? No. I'd rather get rid of him and just fear the unknown, i.e. what are Man United going to do in the transfer window to replace him, than to have another situation like this play out even worse. Young kids who get treated like kings with overinflated salaries and ego boosts. You got a man dyeing his hair before the final. I promise you, he had those whole 2 sunglasses things like Lamine Yamal did ready. His brother was probably holding it for him in the crowd. Like, again, Casemiro got drops from the final. I remember FA Cup final last year. We didn't hear nothing. And you know what's so funny? When Casemiro's wife was talking shit during the season, she wasn't even talking shit. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but I think it was when Carragher said something about someone was dragging Casemiro, and his wife just posted his Champions League pictures on Instagram, his Champions League trophies. That's how you talk crap. That's how you clap back. Because Casemiro can... If Casemiro was doing this today, yeah, I'll be like, oh, he thinks he's bigger than the club. But also, in the same breath, I'll be like, oh, but he's won a lot. This guy's a serial winner. Like, he's won everything there is to win at club level. But when your best accolade that you have is the FA Youth Cup final and an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup, I'm sorry. But if United are so serious about this whole culture stuff at the club, and Amorim has alluded to it a lot, right? He's alluded to this cultural shake-up that Manchester United need, not just on the pitch, but behind closed doors. It needs to start with the players. Oh, yeah, he posted his pic on Instagram, yeah, when we lost 4-1 to Newcastle, but he scored 1 goal. That's the equivalent of someone saying to you, like, yeah, I've done my thing. It's like me when I play pro clubs, yeah, and my team gets smoked, but I score a hat-trick. I'm like, yeah, I did my thing. Just you lot that didn't get your weight up. I don't get how many other ways he can, excuse my language, shit on his own teammates. Surely in the dressing room, they're getting annoyed with it. Surely it must be an issue. And again, like I said, if this cultural thing at Manchester United is a serious, serious thing that they want to address, they need to start with shaking it up with the players, the selfish players, the ignorant players. I saw Joshua Zirkzee get booed in a game against Newcastle 4 months into him being at Manchester United because he was struggling to just get to grips with the game. He got booed by his own fans. I don't have to say much more on that. I don't think I really have to say too much more on that, unfortunately. So I think Garnacho will be out in the transfer window. I think Bruno Fernandez will be out. I actually think this guy should be out too. It's like when Rasmus posted that picture on Insta and said, I needed this goal. We're forgetting that we have a bunch of players in the team that grew up in the era of social media. Like, social media for them is their bread and butter. It's their bread and butter. They're doing something in a game to be like, yeah, I'm going to post this. Or this is my caption. It's sickening. It's sickening. But another player that I think needs to be out of the door with them is Mason Mount. And by the way, guys, I said this the other day, but I'm going to let you lot know again. There will be talk about Mason Mount going on loan. There's a couple of teams in the league, in Premier League, that could go for him. One of them, I think, will be Aston Villa. I'm letting you lot know. One of them could be Aston Villa. However, the problem... So I think it was Spurs. Spurs were linked to him last summer on a loan. He was linked to England. He was linked to them on a loan last summer, but it failed. But Aston Villa could be a destination. The difficult thing for Mason Mount is that there's no one in Europe. There is no one in Europe at top level football that needs a Mason Mount in their team. Not a Barcelona, not a Inter, not a PSG, not a Bayern Munich, not a Real Madrid, not a Liverpool. Not an Arsenal. Let's be honest. These teams do not need a Mason Mount. So why does Manchester United need a Mason Mount? Why does Manchester United need a Mason Mount? I saw him doing an interview before this game, and he was talking about how much he's wanted to be on the pitch and how much he's been struggling just, watching in the crowd, etc., etc. But if Man United are serious about this cultural reform, the only reform we should be talking about this season or this year, guys, the only reform we should be talking about is a cultural reform for Manchester United. That should be the only reform that we talk about. West Ham could be a good destination as well. His agent ain't going to let that happen. His agent feels like he needs to play at big clubs. Yeah, his agent feels like he needs to play at big clubs. So a team like Fulham, a team like West Ham, even though they might be better destinations for him to play regular football and stay fit, they might turn their noses up at that. They really might turn their noses up at that. But listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button. Did we hit 200 likes? We're 1 like away from 200. One like away. So make sure you guys hit the like button. I will be live in about 30 minutes, give or take. I need to set up my stream properly because I thought the game was on Premier Sport, which I have in my studio, but it's not. It's on TNT. So I need to get that set up. We're doing a double watch along, so don't go anywhere, guys. Turn on your post notifications. Come through. Come watch the game with me. You guys were saying yesterday I should start branching out to other content outside of Man United because Man United are so bad. So you know what? Let's start with the Italian league race, where I think Napoli are currently top. Napoli are currently top by 1 point. So if they draw, and by the way, Cagliari are they're 14th and Como are 10th. So Inter might have the more difficult matchup. Inter have rotated quite heavily. Napoli are going all out. I think Napoli are set up with the expectation that they're going to win the league tonight. So we're doing a watch along for that. So I'll catch you guys in about 30 or so minutes. Hit the like button on your way out, guys. Big up to everyone that stuck around. Big up to Riri for the gifted memberships. Big up to everyone that sent in the super chats. Big up to Omar with the super chat as well. And I hope to catch a lot of you guys on the watch along in about half an hour, guys. There's more to life than Man United, guys. There's more to life. Don't let it depress you lot too much because I'm not. Big up everyone. I'm out. Peace.